星期三晚8至10，Music Zone，Music Zone。今日咧，Music Zone 咧請嚟咧就係嚟緊將會喺我哋洛杉磯啦、北美地區啦會上映嘅一出電影叫做《殘影空間》。咁嘅導演咧就係 Glenn Chan 陳志文咧上到嚟咧接受訪問嘅。咁陳導演咧其實係唔識聽廣東話嘅，咁所以咧嚟緊嘅訪問咧將會用英文去進行嘅。咁但係咧希望咧大家我都會做一啲簡短嘅翻譯啦。咁但係咧我哋相信洛杉磯嘅聽眾們咧都冇問題㗎啦，聽英文係咪？So first of all, welcome. Hi, Glenn. Dr. Chan. Hi, how are you? Welcome. So yeah. So first of all, let's talk about this movie. First of all, I would like to congratulate you for making such a great movie. And would you like to introduce a little bit about the movie Shadow to our audience, please?
Yeah, Shadows is a psychological thriller. It's an investigative kind of a mystery in terms of this psychologist who is kind of finding murders, unusual murders that's been happening along the way. And she's gonna pair up with a police officer to investigate and find out that there's this mastermind behind everything. So basically, it's a surrealistic kind of investigative mystery. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Not too much spoiler, of course, right?
Yeah. That's true.
In this movie, we actually have a good and bad standing, or one good side and bad side, because I'll do a little bit spoiler maybe. It's about two main characters who are both psychologists. One who believes that actually human nature is good in nature, and the other, on the other hand, is bad in nature. So it makes us the good guy and the bad guy, of course. So to you, I mean, when you are making the movie, what do you actually believe? For do you think human nature is good or bad, or there's neutral, or sometimes good, sometimes bad?
Interesting question, though. I think my fundamental belief, personally, I believe we are capable of both. That's for sure. But the reason why we're always constantly struggling is because we have this thing called empathy, and it's kind of fighting our lizard brain, our primal instincts to survive. So a lot of it, evil can stem from our instincts to survive. But empathy is the one that kind of bring us the humanity in things. So I mean, my fundamental belief is we are constantly struggling between these two.
Sometimes, right? When times comes, it has to be always, especially in nowadays societies, right? We have to have one mask on whenever we're facing basically everybody outside. When we're home, and then the real us comes out, and that's when we come on the bad side. Also, we talk about the dark side and the good side. 即係喺呢個電影裏面咧，let me do a little bit translation。喺呢個電影裏面咧，就提及到人性本善同性本惡，因為咧就係有二元對立嘅一個出現咗啦。咁就係兩位主角 Stephy 鄧麗欣同埋咧就係我哋謝君豪先生啦。咁佢就喺裏面做緊一個相信人性本惡嘅心理學家、心理醫生。咁喺呢出戲裏面就係基於呢一個設定咧，去有兩個二元對立去講呢個故事出嚟。咁當然裏面唔多講啦，咁但係中間嘅裏面嘅二元內鬥其實都好精彩。咁我就問導演究竟你相信人性係本善啦定本惡嘅咧？導演就話其實佢覺得我哋喺日常生活裏面咧，經常有好多嘅掙扎，有陣時會好，有陣時會壞。咁但係尤其是喺我哋嘅同理心或者同情心出現咗嘅時候咧，亦都會更加影響到我哋嘅抉擇。So and also when it comes to, I actually agree with you on how we are struggling or jumping back and forth on the good and bad side, and we're also talking about the dark side, 陰暗面。I believe everybody has a dark side, like especially. For example, in LA traffic every day, we face heavy traffic every single day. So when someone cut in your lane, I assure you there's actually the dark side will come from the bottom of your heart. Simply as that. Not talking about killing, not talking about crazy murderer, right?
Right.
As a director, how you manage to direct to all the actors and actresses to control or how to show their dark side or good side during the movie? Is there any ways for you to talk to them? Because when it comes to too dark, someone can actually take them out because it's still after all it's acting, but still you have to be so into the character, right? So is there any method for you or any ways for you to communicate with the actor and actress?
For me, right, I was very fortunate to be working with such fantastic actors. They actually did their homework and they brought something to the characters that I myself haven't thought about, you know. So I did very little with them, but I think the one thing that I did try to keep them in check is that they cannot be portraying it as they are evil or they are good. I mean, there's always this restraint to it. You know, it's like the whole point of the story is the fact that the characters are not aware of the other side, the darker side of it, right? So they believe that they're good people, but this darkness is creeping up. So there's always this, and all of them did it beautifully in the sense where they are struggling with this, the dark and the light in that sense. So I did very little with them, and they really did a beautiful job actually. Yeah.
咁啊，我亦都問到導演咧，佢究竟會唔會譬如話喺同演員溝通當中咧，因為始終喺戲裏面我哋睇咧，觀眾就覺得哇呢個係壞人，呢個係好人。咁但係其實喺現實生活裏面，冇人會覺得自己係個壞人，個個都覺得自己啱嘅。咁但係我哋冇辦法，無奈地咧，就係每一日都對住自己喺自己嘅陰暗面同埋好嘅方面不停咁掙扎。咁但係佢就同啲演員就講，就話其實咧。喺演嘅時候咧，千祈唔好前設咗自己係一個好人定壞人先，因為咧喺就好似現實世界裏面，大家都唔會覺得自己做錯。I was trying to interested in saying that no one actually believes they're doing something wrong. Everybody's saying that they're doing something right. Even it's so evil, they think it's right, right? It's just like in the movie. So 呢樣嘢係要好彩好多好專業嘅演員啦，包括咗姜浩文啦，包括咗鄧麗欣啦、陳君豪啊，甚至乎裏面嘅劇集命文龍啊等等咧，佢哋都覺得即係拿捏得好好，佢哋做咗好充足嘅功課喺裏面，就展現到一個唔同嘅一面俾觀眾睇到。So while directing, is it any challenging parts? Because you are a famous director in Singapore, and then when it comes to working with majority of Hong Kong actor and actress, is there any cultural difference or the way you guys work? Is it any difference or pretty much similar?
We are similar to an extent because our filming culture is from Hong Kong. We learned it from Hong Kong. The first generation of our filmmakers came from Hong Kong in some sense on the TV front. But there are some cultural differences because I'm not familiar with the Hong Kong culture, the way, their nuances and stuff like that. And the experience that they have is far greater than what we have. So, I had to play a lot of catch up because they were really fast and they were very proficient in everything. So it was quite a good experience. It was something that I learned a lot from. But apart from that, I think filming is still filming. We're still trying to tell a good story.
Right.
It's just a level of skill. And I think the actors also brought something that I've rarely seen. A sense of the characters that they have and the astuteness that they have in terms of performing their characters.
咁我亦都問到導演啦，因為佢係一位嚟自新加坡嘅導演，咁我就問佢，其實喺同香港演員咧去做戲嘅時候，或者幫佢哋做導演嘅時候咧，有冇啲文化上嘅差異？佢就話其實咧好多新加坡嘅電影咧，基本上咧由開始嘅時候都係有啲香港嘅味道，或者咧喺香港嘅電影文化裏面帶入去。咁當然啦，裏面咧佢亦都見到好多唔同新嘅元素，同埋尤其是咧佢哋係香港嘅 crew 啦，香港嘅演員咧。做嘢嘅時候特別 efficient 嘅，特別快手嘅，咁所以咧，即係覺得呢件事係好特別，對嚟講帶咗好多新鮮感。So also in the movie towards the very end, I'm not going to do any spoiler, but you actually leave an open-ended question or ending to our audience. Any chance you have a preset, or you already have an answer for us, or you just want to leave it to everybody to make their own ending kind of thing?
I think the intention for the writers was to keep it vague, because ultimately, like you've asked in the first question whether humans are good or bad,
right?
It's a very tricky question to answer.
Indeed.
Right? So I think what we were trying to achieve was to get the audience to really think, and at the same time understand that the only way for us to address issues like that is to be aware of ourselves, especially, and then ask the same question about about good and evil to yourself. That's about it.
咁我亦都問咧，因為其實喺電影裏面咧，我哋洛杉磯嘅觀眾就未睇到啦，咁但係我自己係睇咗先嘅。咁裏面咧亦都有一個好 open end、好冇答案嘅一個結局。咁但係當然個結局係點，我唔會講俾大家聽啦。咁但係我亦都問導演啦，你喺拍嘅時候有冇一啲好特別嘅或者前設咗咧？佢就話冇嘅。其實呢個咧亦都係呢出電影殘影空間咧嗰個編劇想同大家講嘅嘢，就係想留一個留白俾大家去睇完出戲之後再分析，再用自己嘅角度去睇下究竟邊樣嘢先至係你心目中裡面想睇到嘅答案。So I was trying to translate the whole thing. So when making this movie, I understand lately there are so many news going around about mental health. For yourself, is it one of the topics that you always wanted to film, or you're like, oh, actually this is a project for me, so you can look in, or how you prep for this whole thing? Because when it comes to mental health, there are more and more awareness nowadays in the society.
Yeah.
Yet most of them we encounter are really sad news. So when you are doing the preparation, how you handle all this information? There's tons of news and things you can reference to. Is it hard for you to handle, or is it difficult, and any challenging parts on that?
Well, I mean, this project was sort of like offered to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a project I created. It was offered to me, and when I read the story and everything, I thought it was a really interesting premise because it deals with psychology, and I personally love psychology. I mean, after reading it, I was introduced to Carl Jung's theory of shadow.
Mm-hmm.
And in preparation for it, I actually studied a bit of Carl Jung and the shadow theory and stuff like that. And what that did was help me understand myself a little bit better. You know, like we all have a dark side, and his theory is basically instead of suppressing it, like many of us do, we should be aware of it or acknowledge it. And I subscribe to that because it's a little bit like if you're an alcoholic, and you need to admit that you're an alcoholic or a drug addict before you can get help, right? So it's a little bit like that, where you need to acknowledge that before you can become a better person. So in the whole entire movie, basically, is a debate about what does it mean to acknowledge this darker side. How do you take it? How do you
recognize it, right?
How do you recognize it? Do you embrace it, or do you, I don't know, fight it?
Mm-hmm.
That's fundamentally how I prepared for it. So when I'm kind of like looking at each character, then I would probably see why they're struggling, or why are they denying it, why are they embracing it, are they embracing it in a wrong way, and then it creates a distinct difference in all the characters that we see on screen.
Yeah, true. When it comes to this recognition on the problem, right? So most of us are actually trying to escape from it. It's hard for us to embrace it like right away. But times go by, and when we try to embrace it, or to know it's actually happening, to accept the fact that it's actually happened, is a different stage already. And how to handle is another problem. There's so many things going on right now in order for us to handle it. Of course, if you handle it right, it's going to be cured, or how should I say, it go back on the right track. But unfortunately, there's a lot of times that nowadays most of the people actually didn't handle it right, and it caused chaos and tragedies. Right?
That's unfortunate.
So 我亦都同導演傾一傾啦，就係話我哋見到好多新聞啊，同埋而家喺個社會上面咧，都好注重精神健康呢個問題。咁我想問下導演點樣去 handle，或者喺做資料搜集嘅時候，佢點樣處理，或者佢點係咪佢自己好想拍嘅咧？咁樣佢就話本身咧呢個係一個人哋揾佢做嘅一個 project 嚟嘅。咁佢亦都因為要做拍一出電影所以咧做咗好多資料搜集，亦都去睇咗好多關於心理學嘅資料啦。咁咧佢就發現其實每一個人都唔多唔少有啲問題，就好似戲裡面嘅每一個角色咁樣。咁但係至於我哋點樣去 處理咧，亦都係一件事。好多人咧，首先會選擇逃避或者抑壓住佢咁，但係導演就覺得呢樣唔係一件好嘅方法，反而咧去認清咗個問題，然之後去面對佢，擁抱呢個問題，再去改變，先至係可以幫到自己嘅最好嘅方法。咁啊，亦都係一個呢出電影想帶出嚟嘅一個訊息啦。So one more time, so I would like to once again congrats Director Chan for making such a great movie, and
Thank you.
yeah, so and thank you so very much for coming to the interview today, and we look forward to for this movie coming on in July 14th in Los Angeles in North America。再一次咧，多謝咧陳導演咧嚟到我哋接受訪問啦。咁啊，嚟緊咧7月14號咧都會殘影空間將會喺洛杉磯上演，亦都喺三藩市會有，北美嘅地方亦都會有嘅。咁大家咧到時記住留意啦。咁啊，再次多謝你嘅訪問 ，Thank you so very much for coming. I'll see you next time. Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you for having me, Ron.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.